Today on Insider Secrets, we're going to talk about working with those folks who are in foreclosure. We got a lot to cover every single week, so make sure you don't miss all of our free content. Hit that bell and like and subscribe. Well, hey everybody, thank you for joining me. My name is Daniel Barron Howe, Dean of PowerProfitsUniversity.com and author of FlipLikeThePros.com. So this has been quite the week here in the United States. We've seen temperatures below 60 degrees wind chill. It's been crazy. So what have I been doing? Well, I've been out driving around looking for deals. Little weather isn't going to stop me. So a lot of people would probably take that time to hide in front of the fireplace, and they probably wouldn't go outside, but not me. I never let anything like that stop me. And I would advise that you don't either. If you really want to make a success of yourself in this business, you've got to do what others won't do. So sure to my word, I went out and I found some deals here. And so I want to talk to you a little bit today about working with those folks that you do find when you do locate those deals. And this week is a classic example. I'm not going to give names, I'm not going to give addresses, I'm just going to talk generically about one of the folks that I met this week, and he's very, very typical of the type of person that I bump across almost on a weekly basis. So this couple I bumped into this week, they had a really nice 4-bedroom house, decent amount of equity, about $40,000 in equity. It's not what I would consider to be a killer deal, but it's certainly worth my attention. So I pulled over. I actually happened to meet the gentleman in his driveway, stopped, talked to him, asked him what the situation was, asked him how things were going, what his plan was. He said, I don't know. I don't know what to do. So you have to understand that this guy has been in foreclosure for probably about 12 months. He's about a month away from actual auction, so he has done absolutely nothing to save himself. He has not contacted the bank, he has not spoke with anyone, he's basically just stuck his head in the sand. He's what we call an ostrich. You know what ostriches do? They just stick their head in the sand and they hope everything will pass them by. And when it comes to foreclosure, it doesn't work that way. If you hide, they will come and get you, and they will remove you from the house. Unless you're proactive and you do something, they'll come and get you out of there. So I talked to the guy, and this was last week, and I said, you know, what are you gonna do? And he didn't have a plan, and so we set up an appointment. Now here's where the fun begins. So a lot of times when you get these folks and you set up an appointment with them, don't be surprised if they'll find everything else in the world to do with their time. I mean, everything is priority one except for saving their house, and this was pretty much a classic textbook example of that. So last Wednesday is when I met him. I said, hey, I'll come back this afternoon as soon as I get done posting for some other possibilities here. I gotta have some free time in the afternoon. I'll come back and meet with you. He said, no problem, no problem. So he gave me his phone number, and sure enough, he called me in about an hour and he said, hey, you know, can we do this tomorrow? All right, fair enough. So I set up a time with him the next day to get together with him. I believe that was supposed to be 11 o'clock in the morning. And called him, confirmed with him. He said, well, we got to take the kids and we got to take them over to Grandma's house and we got to do something, whatever. And I said, all right, fair enough. He says, are you going to have time like later on? Because I work till 9 o'clock at night if I have to. And he said, no, we've got something else we got to do. We're going to go out to eat. Well, okay. so after talking to him for probably about 15 more minutes, he relayed his entire week activity that he had set up and stuff like that. So we rolled it again to the next day. Now bear in mind, the auction's getting closer and closer and closer. I mean, no solution has been had, nothing's going on, but this guy's finding everything and everybody to distract him and hide him, you know, his attention from what the reality is you got to take care of your house or you're going to lose your happy home. But, you know, he's got to go out to eat on Saturday night. Now, this is also another thing I should probably bring up. When I had my early conversation that I spoke with him, I said, you know, how far behind are you in your mortgage? He said, oh, roughly about 12 months. I said, how much is your mortgage? He goes, about $1,250 a month. So do the quick math. That's about $15,000 with attorney's fees and everything like that. So in order to bring him current without doing any kind of fancy maneuvering or any kind of advanced details or any kind of advanced deals, it's going to take $15,000 to bring him back to square one. So I asked him, how much money have you got? 800 bucks. 800 bucks. That's what he's got to his name. So, you know, needless to say, it's going to be a challenging deal if I ever manage to pull it together. But I asked him, you know, this, and then of course, obviously he had to go out to eat and he had to do a bunch of other stuff here. So I spoke to him this morning. We had set the third appointment for this morning at 10:30 this morning. I thought I'd catch him before he started to let everything else maneuver his time. So he said, well, I got to do this one thing and then you can come over at 11. He calls me back at about 10:45. He says, I got something else to do. He says, well, can we do this like next Tuesday? You gotta be kidding me, man. So, not surprised. Nothing surprises me anymore. It always makes me just kind of want to smack my head, but I've seen this hundreds and thousands of times over and over and over. That's just how these people operate, generally speaking. And so I asked him, you know, why can't you get together until Tuesday? I mean, what's more important than saving your house? So what he told me was, well, I got to go to my father's house because he's got something. He was being really evasive, but we finally let it slip. He was basically going to a 3-day-long Super Bowl party. It's Super Bowl weekend as I sit here and film this. And so basically, rather than sit and talk to someone who can save him or potentially salvage what he's created for himself, he's skipping off to go out to eat with his wife on last Saturday night, and now he's getting geared up for a 3-day-long Super Bowl party and sleepover at his father's house, which, by the way, is only about 30 minutes away from here. So he's only like 30-minute drive from here, but he can't manage to rip himself away from that to come and have a 15-minute conversation with me about saving his largest asset. So it's tremendously frustrating. So this is pretty much classic example of what you have to deal with sometimes when you deal with folks who are in foreclosure. They will do anything and everything to avoid adult responsibility. And it absolutely drives you nuts as an investor, but it's just one of those many things that you have to deal with when you deal with the public. So sometimes you'll find other folks that are very receptive. They're sitting there, they're just waiting, and you know, they have nobody that they can kind of hold out hope for, and no one's throwing them a lifeline. So when you show up at the door and you leave a card for them or you make contact with them in some way, most of the time you'll find you're very well received. But when you get past that point and you start to speak to those folks, then you start to see the personality flaws. You start to understand real quickly how many of these people got themselves into the situation they're currently at. Now, don't get me wrong. I never speak ill of any of the people that are in foreclosure, because sometimes, and I've seen it all, but sometimes, a lot of times, bad things happen to good people. There's job losses, there's transfers, there's deaths, there's all kinds of stuff. But sometimes you get those folks that you just got to kind of wonder, how in God's name did you ever even get yourself into this house? I mean, the way you handle money, the way you handle your life is an absolute train wreck. But those folks, we still hold out hope, we still try to work with them, we still try to give them a better solution than they have on their own. So this is just a quick insight as to my week, and I just wanted to pass this little nugget along to you. If you enjoyed listening to this, I've got a ton of stories I'd like to share with you, as well as so many tips and tricks to bring you along in your investment journey. My name is Daniel Barron Howe. Please stop by our website at fliplikethepros.com. Make sure to subscribe, because I got a lot more to teach you. Until then, peace and hair grease, baby.